Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Shreya Dhondial. Good to see you this evening. Now, if things stand as they do right now, a major change is coming to India's armed forces in the next 24 hours. Commonly called the tour of duty, but officially labeled Agneepath, will be announced by the government tomorrow. But, ladies and gentlemen, the debate over it has been ongoing, heated, and emotional, especially in the armed forces circle. Agnipath, once rolled out, will change the way the armed forces, that is the Army, the Navy and the Air Force, recruit their soldiers. Instead of taking them on permanently, soldiers will be recruited for 4 years and then released post that. And then within a month, from this batch of students, soldiers, I beg your pardon, 25% of the best will be re-enlisted as permanent soldiers, which means when they retire after 20 years of service, they go home with a pension and medical benefits. What is the aim? Many people are asking, why fix it if ain't broken? Things are working perfectly fine. Why do this? Why change the rules? Well, the aim is to cut ballooning defense pension bills. But is this a classic case of being penny wise and pound foolish? Or is it an attempt to right-size the armed forces and make it younger, leaner, and perhaps meaner as well? A full generals panel is coming up for you at 6:30, but I want to run you through the brass tacks of what Agnipath actually means. Agnipath means, well, trial by fire. Will it end up being an Agni Pariksha for the armed forces? Here's how it goes. These are the salient points, just putting them out in big and bold so you understand once we get into the discussion. First of all, soldiers, as I said, will be recruited for 4 years, post which they will go home. They will be released and they will go home with about 10 lakh rupees. Their training will be some 6 months. Now, 25% of these soldiers who will be released, of all the soldiers who have been released, within a month, the best 25% will be picked up and be re-enlisted by the army, and then they are permanent soldiers there who retire with all benefits. Very importantly, once, at the time that the tour of duty or Agnipath was on the drawing table, the plan was also to include officers in this, which means the way officers are recruited was set to change as well, but there was much opposition to that from within the armed forces, so the government dropped that idea. And now this scheme, at least for the moment, is only for the way we recruit soldiers. It's not the way we recruit officers. Now, as I said, why are we doing this? Why is the government doing it? Well, the pension bills are ballooning every year. If you just want to look at the statistics, out of the entire defense budget, if you take the pension bills and if you take the salary bills, that accounts for 50% of your entire defense budget. So where is the money for modernization? Where is the money to buy that second indigenous aircraft carrier? Where is the money to buy cutting-edge technology and weapons? You need to generate that money from somewhere. You will need to save it, and therefore, argues the government, this is a good idea and in the long run will work very well and it will benefit everyone. That's the big debate. Is Agnipath a game changer, or is it going to be a big gamble? Okay, so there are two sides of the debate. I was in a hurry to start the debate, which is why I was stepping off. But no, before we do that, people who are batting for Agnipath say, there are many young people who want an opportunity to serve the nation. They don't want to do it for 20 years. This is their chance. You can go and serve for 4 years, come back and join the civilian world. But people against it are arguing that this will change the ethos and the character of the armed forces. An armed forces that works on the ethos of Naam, Namak, Nishan. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Again, the advocates for Agnipath are saying we need to cut down our ballooning pension bills. Something needs to be done. The armed forces need to be right-sized, and you have to begin somewhere. But the other side is, if you have such young soldiers who don't even have proper training, will this not impact operations on the ground? Remember, we have two active borders at the LAC and the LOC. There is China on one hand, there is Pakistan on the other hand, and you have 50,000 troops right now on a very active border in eastern Ladakh. What's the point of downsizing the armed forces in a scenario like this? Well, those who again then bat for the scheme say, look at Agnipath, you are starting to recruit soldiers from 17.5 years to 21.5 years. This will make your army younger. This will make it leaner. But there is also an argument that has been made that here's a group of people who are trained in arms. You send them out after 4 years into the civilian world. They may or they may not find jobs. What happens after that? Will they use their arms training, to join gangs, create trouble in society? That is one argument that has been made as well. There is a counter argument to that as well. But I'm going to put that to the generals who are joining us on the show today. But the big question that we are talking, Agnipath, is it a game changer or is it a gamble? Everyone has their own views and everyone has a right to their own views because these views are coming from a place of concern and experience. Let me quickly go across to our guests who are joining us this evening. Lieutenant General Satish Dua joining us. You all know him. Lieutenant General Vinod Bharti has been with us on a couple of previous shows as well today. A former DGMO of the Indian Army. We have Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni joining us as well. Hello to you, sir. And Major General Yash Moore is joining us as well, someone who runs a hugely popular YouTube channel. Major General Yash Moore, I want to start with you. Please help me understand why you think Agnipath is going to become an Agni Pariksha for the Indian Armed Forces.
Firstly, thank you for, calling me for this debate, and that too with very, very illustrious and respected senior officers of the Indian Army. Now coming to this Agnipath, my stand has been quite consistent over the last 2 years or so, or at least last 1 year. First thing is that we haven't told anything to the people, boys who are running for last 2 years. उनको तो पूरा अंधेरे में रखा हुआ है, and they are so disillusioned, I cannot tell you. Probably उनका ना दर्द कोई समझ नहीं रहा है, श्रेया मुझे समझ नहीं रहा, क्यों नहीं समझ रहे हैं लोग. चलो वो एक साइड में रख दो. Secondly, the entire scheme till tomorrow when it's going to be announced, I believe the service chiefs are going to be announcing this, and service headquarters has not uttered a word on this till date. If it was that good, it was such a novel idea, such an innovative thing, then we should have been debating it, discussing it. At least in the military, it should have been declared. But I feel there's very little debate on it. People are just waiting for it to be announced tomorrow, and then we will see. The other thing I feel is that 4 साल में कौन decide करेगा कि 25% किसको retain करना है? 4 years में you don't write an ACR. 4 years में you don't do a course. 4 years is just young green horns. They will still be able to run BPT and fire. How are you going to decide which 25% will you retain and which 75% will go back to the streets? So you will create these people who will go back. They will again go back very sad, having lost a wonderful opportunity and a job. So ये ना मुझे कुछ some things are not gelling. Let's wait what the fine print is tomorrow, and then we can really comment on it.
General Satish Dua, something is not gelling, says General Moore. This is just not fitting in.
Shreya, all of us have such misgivings. You laid out some points for the motion, so to say, that we need to right size our army, we need to have a younger army age profile, etc. All that is fine. But the point Yash makes, and we all have been making in the past, one is of less training because it's going to be only 6 months. Second, about having a less experienced army at the lower ranks, at the ranks of Jawan. All this is going to cast a shadow on our capability on the two unresolved borders that we have. So we are not a peacetime army. And to that extent, it is going to be difficult because when a boy trains for 6 months, even when he does his full 44 weeks of training, then thereafter he has to do an on-job training and he has to be combatized. He has to serve in an operational area under some seniors to pick up the ropes. So all that is going to happen in 3.5 years. So to my mind, the ideas are good. We need to try out something different. I will not deny that. But what should it be? If this is, like Yash said, all the details are not out, we have only sketchy details. And secondly, I would have been happier, I'll close with this, I would have been happier if we had done a pilot project for a while with some strength and then taken a feedback as to how we are faring in that, rather than putting it or sort of applying it across the board in the first go itself.
Lieutenant General Kulkarni, there are misgivings, and we've seen that there are misgivings in the in the veteran community. There are some misgivings even within serving soldiers. But the point is that the armed forces are always averse to change. Is that what is happening? That you need to change. You need to right-size the armed forces. I understand we have 2 active borders. But our army, for example, is elephantine. Your rival China has cut down the size of its armed forces. They instead are making huge investments in their navy, in their air force, in modernizing as well. There is no harm trying to cut down pension bills so that you have more money to, buy better weapons.
Shreya, you're right in a way that even the Shekatkar committee, when it was appointed, was to ensure the teeth to tail ratio. All of it is acceptable. We are not saying that. The fact remains that we must not be seeing the pension bills as a burden. The entire armed forces, I would look at it as an investment, and we should look at it from that point of view. Why should we blunt the winning edge? Even the best of sword, if it is immersed in salt water, eventually will rust. So we must not cut the winning edge, and we are a real priority, and the top thing are the soldiers. Okay. And those are the ones that we must respect. Those are the ones we need to be trained, and those. Having said that, first and foremost, we are not privy to the entire thing. Yes, what you said, change is always resistant. There's no denying the fact. But aspects like regimentation, Izzat-o-Iqbal, we talk of Naam Namak Nishan, these are not quantifiable. We can't say that this is, comparing with money or saying we are able to do that. No. Even after that, this particular scheme, when it comes, it doesn't really affect the Indian Army immediately within a year or 2 or 3 or 4. The effects will be seen only after about 10 to 15 years. And like what Satish just said, that whatever it be, the teeth to tail ratio, let the teeth not be affected to begin with. Let the tail be experimented with to see how the whole thing fructifies, how are the others reacting it, how do these people who are coming in soldiers, how do they do? To say all of them are Indians only, whatever stock it may be, once they join the battalion, the regimentation. But yes, it's now an all India class, all India composition, so there is a little bit. But having said that, I personally would say that on an average, from an infantry battalion, presumably, even if we say 40, 50 people retire every year, we're going to get about 40, 50 people every year coming into. Yes, the average age, even after the Kargil committee report, we were looking at, you rightly said, leaner, meaner and fitter army. The average age is as much as 35 to 38. This particular scheme brings it down to 23 to 26. So that is a very big bonus point, no doubt. But whatever it is, what happened in Eastern Ladakh is the troops, the cutting edge with the soldiers. It is they who showed eyes, and it is that for which China took a back foot. So these are certain points. However, I will say, well, you rightly said it's an Agni Pariksha. It must be tried out. We'll see what happens. But I would still say at the last that the teeth must not be touched. It could be just a tail to begin with, and let us see how things work out. And therefore, ensure, and plus if you've decided that a 1.2 million army is a huge army, you want to bring it down to 1 million strength, we can work that out. But overall, I think it would take some time. But having said that, no changes are going to come immediately. The changes will come over a period of time. Because by the time the 4th year comes, you will find that from the first year, 40, 10 would have been absorbed, 30 would have gone out. Another 40, 10 would have been absorbed, 40 is gone out. So the number remains the same. But then as it is, if the number is not increasing, there are other aspects of it. The Army Group Insurance is there, the ECHS, let us say the ECHS is not a part of it.
It's
the CSD facilities are not a part of it. Nothing is part of it. They are just used and thrown. And then only 25% absorbed, 75%. Hopefully, the other departments of the government also chip in to ensure, which they have not so far. And even everywhere you have ex-servicemen vacancies going from 2% to 5%. Let us see how many of these vacancies are actually utilized. Not many of them. So there are a lot of grey areas.
So there are grey areas, and I've just realized that everyone on this panel is not very optimistic about the scheme. That is what I've just realized. I'm going to make some arguments for the scheme then. And General Bharti, I want you to come in here. This is about regimentation and how the character and the ethos of the Indian Armed Forces and the way they function is very different from how a corporate office or a newsroom functions. One understands that Naam Namak Nishan is a major driving force when a young man is posted on the front line and is willing to take a bullet. He's taking that bullet for his Paltan. I understand that. But Here's the thing. People will also give us the example of the Rashtriya Rifle that is posted in Jammu and Kashmir, and that's doing a stellar job as far as anti-terror operations are concerned. They don't come from one regiment, na sir. They come from all regiments, and they become a cohesive unit in 2 years, 3 years, and perform very well. So where is this emotional argument of regimentation and ethos of the Indian Army and the character changing of the Indian Army coming from, sir?
Sure, interesting debate. You named it game changer gamble. You don't gamble with the territorial integrity. You don't gamble with your national security. You don't gamble with your strategic autonomy. You don't gamble when you have two adversaries breathing down on your borders. It's not a gamble. When you talk about that, when you talk about regimentation, that is our strength. That is our ethos. We die for a nam namak nishan. We function. We are effective because of that. You quoted Rashtriya Rifles. Now let me tell you what Rashtriya Rifles. Take a minute. Rashtriya Rifles, the minimum service required to be posted to Rashtriya Rifles is 3 years. Right? So we are sending a trained soldier to Rashtriya Rifles. So it is not that a man comes, because 3 to 4 years is the time for a man when he joins the unit to be trained and to fit into a section, a platoon, a submarine, an aircraft, whatever it is, he needs 3 to 4 years. So that's the time when you're spending money on training and then pushing him out to the wolves in the civil street. Pennywise, pound foolish is something which you said, and that I agree with it totally. Where lean and mean concerned, we are looking at budgets. We don't measure national security in rupees. It's not done. Look at Galwan. A week from today, we'll be remembering Galwan. Kal Santosh Babu and his men they fought for the unit 16 Bihar. They fought the unit 3rd Punjab. They're not fighting anything else, because they can't go back to the village and say, "Main dar gaya, main darpok hu." It doesn't happen that way. It's an emotive issue. Yes, we are men of emotion. Soldiers are emotive people. I have to be part of a group. I take pride in that group. It is, why do we have colors? The colors are the colors. We do everything for the colors. So when you talk about Rashtriya Rifles, 52% of the infantry soldiers come from one particular regiment. And that is the cutting edge. The others come and mix up. And they are trained soldiers, and they're going to go back into the mainstream. It is not that after 2 years he will come to Rashtriya Rifles and go home thereafter. He will not take, there will be risk aversion. No, why should anyone take a risk?
So,
when you talk of lean and mean, there are many other ways of doing it. Even the pension budget, 35% of the pension budget goes to the civilian employees of the Ministry of Defense, which is reducing because the NPS has come up. So defense budget is not ballooning, it is not expanding, it will get reduced over the years when this comes in. And you got to pay for your security. Let's not measure everything in terms of money. It's not going to happen. Yes, we need weapons, we need technology, we need to be prepared for new age warfare. Definitely done, but not at the cost of our strengths. Our strength is our regimental ethos. Our strength is our men.
But then I think I'm screaming in your ear. I beg your pardon. But General Bhatia, by that argument, you are telling me that the EME soldier is not good enough as the infantry soldier. Usme to regimentation nahi hai. Signals not good enough as the infantry soldier, lacks the cutting edge because regimentation nahi hai. Yahi to bol rahe hai na aap phir.
No, he will
are we prejudging these young men and women who are going to come in by, questioning whether they will have the motivation? Abhi to try nahi kiya, sir, humne.
Sir, do you want to send a man to a technical job for 3 years? The amount of training which is required to make him proficient in that technical job is 4 to 5 years. So you're wasting your money out there. I don't think that is the right thing to do. Don't even think of sending him into technical arms. Okay. Because when he becomes, when he becomes a technical man, he takes on-the-job training to make sure that his aircraft is functional. Tomorrow the accidents will increase because he only there for 4 years.
There are some details that need to come out, but this is what I'm picking up. I'm picking up that when it comes to, the technical arms, you may have the service that is extendable. So that is one thing I'm picking up. The second thing I'm picking up, General Moore, also is that this tour of duty, it was called tour of duty, it's now officially called Agnipath, that this will not be the only way to recruit soldiers. Of course, officially everything will come out tomorrow once the chiefs announce this scheme of recruiting soldiers. But I want to ask you, are we not getting too emotional about, look at the arguments that have been made, for example, that here you have, a band of men and women who are trained in arms. They step out of the Indian Armed Forces. they don't find jobs, and you will see them, enter the world of crime. That is one argument I've heard as well. Sir, तो ये officers के साथ नहीं होता है. Short Service Commission में भी officers come. They are also trained in arms, but do they go out and join the gangs of Mumbai or Wasipur? नहीं ना, sir. We are prejudging. I think, are we getting too emotional? Do we not want to change? Are we prejudging everything? General Moore, that question was for you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Shreya, we are not prejudging at all. We are not prejudging at all. What we are seeing is a trend and the secrecy around this entire scheme. If it was that good, why don't we should have debated it for at least 1 year, and at least पहले उनको तो recruit कर लो, बेचारे who have cleared the test, जो दौड़ के जो रोड पे पिछले 2 साल हो गए.
But sir, in India there are so many divergent views. अगर आप कोई चीज डिबेट करने बैठेंगे तो वो डिबेट 100 साल नहीं खत्म होगी, कुछ काम नहीं हो पाएगा.
No. Healthy debates always done. Reorganization of army, theaterization of army, IBJization of army, all this have been debated in the military at least. But on this particular thing, there's a lot of secret. That is one part. The other thing we are not prejudging is because how will you decide which 75% will go out? Which 25% will you retain? Is 4 years, जिसमें 1 साल छुट्टी है. 6 months is going to be his training period. How in this short period are you ensuring they become part of, they learn something? And also, how are you going to decide which 75% you will throw them out? Again, there will be huge issue. How will the COs decide? Out of this 50 I got as Agnipath, Agniveer, I have to keep only these guys. What kind of, and then those also will be demustered and re-recruited again.
There is a reason for it. There is a reason for it. Because just for the benefit of our viewers, on paper, what was decided was that 25% or whatever, 25% will be retained or 30% will be retained and then 50%. So there was some calculation that was made essentially, but it was decided that everyone will be released, and of those, everyone who has been released, the best 25%, the creme de la creme will be got back. The reason was that if you made the choice while all of them were still in the services, that would open up the Indian Armed Forces to so much litigation that it would have become a headache. Therefore, the idea and the counter argument to what you are saying is that 25% of the people you take back will be the best guys. There cannot be a better selection process than this.
Shreya, everybody who joins is best. I told you, आज के दिन जवान भर्ती होना उतना ही मुश्किल है, उतना ही कठिन है, उतना ही effort लग रहा है. And with all India, all class, if you recruit the best 50,000 soldiers from army, I have no doubt all of them will be very good. But उसमें से कैसे आप decide करोगे कि ये 25% बहुत अच्छे हैं, and बाकी 75% का क्या होगा career का? Where will they go? Corporate तो लेने नहीं वाला है. Please forget, don't give us this. We have seen for 40 years which corporate has hired soldiers other than to stand as security guards. Officers, yes, they can do an MBA and they do MDI course. इनके लिए क्या course कराओगे आप 3-4 साल की survey? Which corporate is waiting to hire them? ये बताओ मुझे. Have you hired soldiers earlier in bulk? Paramilitary forces don't want them. So the fear is, one is they will go out and they'll have no jobs, so they can be used by anti-national elements. The other thing is, Shreya, yes, they will carry a lot of information with you. Imagine somebody who served in Punch, Rajouri, Eastern Ladakh, Dras. He's carrying this thing with him. Now, some of these people can be used by anti-national elements to get out something out of them. How will you check? कैसे आप हर एक बंदे के ऊपर tab रखोगे? So I think we are playing with really, I don't know. Let's see.
You're going to say we are playing with fire. Agnipath is playing with fire. I think that is what you were trying to say.
I think so.
I have 2 minutes on the show, so I'm going to take closing comments from General Satish Dua and General Kulkarni as well. General Satish Dua, the argument that has been made by the Indian Armed Forces, well, the government is this, that look at what we are doing. We are training young men and women in discipline with ethos, and when they step out after 4 years, these guys, these young fellows, 21, 22, 23, will be assets to the civilian world. Whichever organization hires them, and apparently the armed forces are in talks with corporates is what I've heard, that there will be some degree of training given to them post them being released, that these guys will be an asset wherever they go, they will be gold. क्यों चिंता कर रहे हैं उनके बारे में? They are young, they'll find a way. They've had training, they've had discipline, they have ethos, they'll find a way. Let's not be pessimistic and negative about a change that is now upon us.
So look, Shreya, the way you put it, it sounds very good. But is that the aim? We should be saying that is a fringe benefit that comes out of it.
I agree.
That certainly cannot be the aim. We in the army are not a nursery to train citizens for something outside. If they are in talk with the corporate, I would have been happier if the government had said that we reserve a certain percentage in the Central Armed Police Forces and other belt forces, as they're called colloquially, where the soldiers can go, or bulk of them can go. The point being made by several other speakers, my esteemed co-panelists, is that, like Yash said, that they can be fall into the hands of anti-national elements, or can be exploited by anti-national elements. So the point being made here is, yes, a significant percentage of that 75% will get some job. Okay. But then there will be another chunk which may not get a job, since we are counting that. If we are going to analyze it well from both sides, then they can fall in the hands of anti-national elements. There can be some lawlessness. And so the point being made here is give them a better assured employment opportunity after that. Okay. At least that will take care of the society better than what you say.
General Kulkarni, I have exactly 10 seconds. My producer is telling me I'm already over on the show. 10 seconds, closing comments. कुछ तो अच्छा होगा, कुछ तो सोच के सरकार कर रही होगी. After all, this is the armed forces. Right. They will not play with it.
Shreya, my closing comment with you would be only one, that the veteran body seems very much agitated and very much concerned with the kind of system, the changes that are taking place. But if the uniformed body is willing to accept it, correct, then so be it. And I think if the uniformed body have debated it, have gone over it, and have mulled over it, and have now accepting the proposal, I think then let's give it a try.
Let's give it a try. I think that's the spirit. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. The debate continues. It will continue into tomorrow when the scheme is expected to be announced. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.